This is this past weekend. It was a wild weekend, man. Still lamenting the loss of the native child that didn't come to fruition for me. So I was dealing with some of those feelings. We're gonna get into some news. I got offered a threesome this weekend in Baltimore. So I don't know if you've been to Baltimore, dude. Apparently, obviously, great place to get crabbed and murdered, but also good place to get a little threesome offer. What's up, you little gristle whistlers, huh? You alive, dude? Knock, knock. Who's there? Hopefully you. How you living, man? You believe in ghosts, man? You believe in ghosts? Do ghosts believe in you, though? That's the question. Have you done enough in your life for ghosts to believe in you? You ever accidentally urinate on your ex-girlfriend, bro, while y'all was sharing a sofa while you was sleeping over in Baton Rouge, Louisiana about 9 years ago? Have you ever just wet the bed in your 30s, dude, because you got issues that you haven't dealt with? Huh? You ever covered yourself in baby oil and pretended you was back inside your mother's womb? Ooh, hey, mama. Well, if you have, dude, you're definitely welcome here. I met this girl off of Snapchat, dude, and we ended up just being nasty, you know? Just being nasty, man. Just like nasty cats and, and just doing sex. And I was worried, honestly, that maybe I had gotten this young lady pregnant, Not because I didn't really drop any seed, inside or anything like that, or or spray out, or on the interior or do anything like that. There were a couple moments during the sex where I wanted to keep going with my brain. My brain wanted to keep going, but my nuts were just ready to really, expel themselves. And I kind of rode those out because when that happens as a man, it's like being on a bull, but there's two bulls and they're your nuts, and you have to really you gotta just grit down. And sometimes there's even a button in your body you can press right behind your nuts. If you'll reach back there and press that, that'll calm the troops. But anyhow, that happened a couple of times, and we continued doing sex, and so I was worried after that. I wish they made like a Valentine's pornography, even if it was just like a Cupid, kind of maybe masturbating behind a tree or something, and you don't watch it, you don't see obviously you don't want to see like a little baby dressed up masturbating with a bow and arrow. I mean, that's that's hella Republican. Which sounds pretty dope, but it's that's too much, but maybe you could listen to it, just get the audio from the other side of the tree, something like that. And the hamsters we're getting nowadays, Gabriel, I can't even tell you if they're safe or not, because a lot of these hamsters, they're from Russia. If you look at them, they're angry, they're small, they're meek, they look like premature babies, they're red-eyed, red-handed, just already look real scattered, like they're alcoholics or, maybe in Cocaine Anonymous meetings. They look like hamsters you would meet in a place like that. So I am concerned about the ground game that's currently coming through America, because a lot of that market went abroad. A lot of that market went to Russia. And since this weekend, though, this girl, not my type of gal. She wasn't my type. She's like threatened to give me a blowjob, like literally follow me to my hotel and then threaten to give me a blowjob, dude. Who does that? She's like, oh, you don't think I'll suck your dick? And I'm like, what? I'm just hoping you won't. 54 days I just saw. Boom. 54 days off of pornography. 54 days off of pornography. I'm 2 days clear on masturbation for now. So, got a little lonely in these hotel rooms. You're getting a little lonesome. So I was just really monitoring myself, basically just being sensual. I had some sensual thoughts and I just acted on them. So I'm acting on my own sensual thoughts. But yeah, defend that girl. Who threatens to blow somebody? Oh, really? Oh, fine, then I'll suck your dick. Like, come on, lady. Like, you know? So that was, I had to say, obviously no. I was like, no, but I had to, this lady was just an aggressive 5.5, and not that that really matters, the looks of it, but there was just no attraction. I don't like somebody threatening to suck my dick. It's dangerous, dude. You want to discuss it? You want to draw a picture and be like yes or no, like a picture of a mouth and like maybe a sketch of what you think my penis might look like, and then put a check yes or no box? That's a possibility, But when you're just threatening to blow somebody, okay? I'm not going to put my penis into somebody's mouth that I barely know who's been threatening me with that same mouth. That's crazy, dude. And they had a dude that worked at the hamster place who was like, I'm going to take care of him. And I thought, he'd poison him or something, but he took him and shot him in the head, dude. And I hate to say that. I've had some issues with animals. I accidentally, killed that deer with that lawnmower when I was working on a soybean and cotton farm. And that still haunts me, man. Still haunts me, dude. If you have not been through, we've all got our own little Vietnams, and that was one for me, man. Just driving this, 6-8 foot grass, and you hear Bambi go down. Bambi go down. But anyway, yeah, this hamster got rogue, and it was just killing local hamster children. And this dude, I thought he poisoned it or something, but then who goes and shoots a hamster in the head, bro? You know what I'm saying? This dude is straight up. That's intense, man. I always thought that mannequins should be more realistic. I'd love to see somebody come out with some realistic mannequins. How do I know if this shirt or, blouse is going to fit my father or mother if the mannequin don't look like it's about to whoop my ass, Like, that's the mannequin I'd like to see in the store. A mannequin with a spatula in its hand and an angry look on its face. Then put the blouse on it, and I'll be like, oh, definitely that's for Dad. So I went to visit this half-sister of mine, and I'd never spent any time with her. And she had a husband, this little flamenco. I think he was a flamenco dancer. He would do the fancy dancing, and, he had real strong legs, I remember. He was short, but just all muscle from the waist down, just like a little centaur, if that is what I'm thinking it is. I don't know if it is, but he was just solid, if in a plane crash you'd eat him first, you would grill him up. But anyway, he took me to the liquor store. He was going to get some liquor for him and his wife, and I'm wandering around this liquor store, and this lady comes up, and she goes, have you seen my kitty? And I didn't think they had a cat. I've been around some nasty cats, really, and I remember at night when I was young, you would hear cats just kind of choking each other and fighting, just being nasty to each other. But I didn't know really what this lady was talking about. And then she's like, have you seen my kitty? And I'm like, huh? And then she opened her trench. She had a trench coat, and she had her breasts and vagina right there, And I saw that. I don't even know if I told you guys this story anymore, but I definitely felt some strong feelings of affection. But yeah, they had the girl with the bad teeth. That girl, she had that, just a 4-3 defense in her mouth. Them teeth were just stacked on stacks, dude. Just looked like a bunch of enamel having an orgy, really, more than a smile. And I had a strong grill growing up. I had a bunch of spaces in my teeth for a long time. Till I got older. What else? Oh, another time. The first time I was around some sex that wasn't my own, really, I think. This isn't really a Valentine, but this is kind of, it was in the vein of love and sexuality. They had this boy in our town named Boo Boo Tyson. And Boo Boo had been in a fire, And I don't know who did a fire to him, or somebody said his brother burnt down the house and he got caught up in a fire, and one of his legs was real, just been really affected by the fire and just kind of grilled up. One of his legs was kind of, medium well. And he used to put polish on it all the time, and, lotion, olive oil, different types of oil, baby butter, all of that, baby oil, WD-40, whatever they had. I mean, he would keep it moist, I was on the airplane and they passed out Prosecco, a type of champagne, and a little box of fancy chocolates on Delta airline, on the Airjet. And man, they had two beautiful little chocolates, little balls, just in a little bitty case, a beautiful little box. And they gave one to everybody on the plane, and everybody got their own little bottle of champagne. And I don't drink, so I passed on the champagne, but the chocolates, man, you opened it up, the little box, and they had two beautiful dark little balls in there. Just two little brother nuts in there, just dusty and just kind of old man nuts, it looked like. And man, I just popped one of them things in my mouth and just felt joy. And I had a friend of mine, he was born with some deficiencies, and he was born with a wrist in his neck. And I might have told you guys this, but he was born with a wrist in his neck. A wrist bone has many opportunities. If you ever look at your wrist and you move your hand around in natural, your hand can almost orbit, the top of your arm, the end of your arm, that's your wrist. And this boy was born with a wrist in his neck. And so his head was just constantly just going in a circle. Just a constant, he had this this condition, just a constant circle. And, he was easy to do magic on. I'll tell you that, dude, because he was missing, 60% of the time he was missing while you were trying to talk to him. Because of this rotation he was on. He was just kind of, basically his head was just constantly orbiting his own shoulders, just orbiting around his body almost. And he was my best friend, and he was born also, he had extra salivary glands in his face. And when he was feeling real joyous, he would spray out the sides of his mouth a little. And he was a good friend of mine. He was easy to do magic on as well, and basically talking to him was almost like playing double dutch. You had to catch him when he was you had to catch him when he was passing by, you had to get him right here, because otherwise you had to get him right there. You had to catch him. So anyhow, we used to bury animals on Saturday because a lot of animals got hit by our house and killed by motor vehicles, cars, trucks, everything. And we would get out there on Saturday and, just looking for something to do. We'd bury the animals a lot of times, pull them off of the road, bury them. And one time, I don't even know if I told you guys this story. If I did, I'm sorry. But one time we found some nudie magazines in the dirt. I'm saying, boy, titty literature. And man, we were fired up. That made him spray out the sides of his mouth, just his body, just feeling the perversions of these booklets, of these little sex booklets. And so we got to looking at these magazines, but somebody in the magazines, okay, in each picture they got people in there and doing sex and just being nasty. And in the pictures, though, somebody had cut out, right where the peenie and the vagina kind of just met each other, somebody cut that area out. Just cut out that insertion, In each picture, man, we look at the first page and somebody cut it out with a knife or a small saw. And then we look at the next page and the same thing, right where the penises and the vaginuses were just shaking each other's hands, proverbially speaking. Somebody cut that area out. And then we looked through every picture in every magazine, 5, 6, 7, 800 pictures of insertion missing. Somebody running around our town really with a bunch of fuck fetty on them. You know, their own little hot package of insertion, you know? So that was kind of wild growing up. I remember that. I don't know whatever happened to that boy, Danny. His name was Danny, and they called him Hot Danny because he would get dizzy from his head spinning, and you'd have to sit him down and rest him, you know, because that's friendship. That's friendship, man. You ever gotten a pat on the back? When was the last time somebody patted you on the back? And originally, I guess it had to be a man named Pat, maybe. You know, like, oh, there comes Pat with his crazy hands, you know? But that's a lost art, patting somebody on the back. Because you can't be a creep about it. You can't be you can't do it too hard. So I got a buddy who pats too hard. He patted me too hard the other day. And you know what, dude? I approached him. And his wife was right there. And I approached him and I said, man, you know, you patted me on the back too hard, dude. It's not, at that point, it's not for me. Because a pat on the back is supposed to be, it's like almost like a round of applause between your hand and someone else's back. In someone's spine or back area. Solar plexus. And for you to just wham somebody. I got another little fella I know. He lives down in Texas. And he used to live up in Canada. So he came back to America. And he pats people on the back extremely hard. So that shit pisses me off, dude. If you're going to pat somebody on the back, make it about them, dude. Make it soft. Make it comfortable. Fucking trying to hurt people because you can't control your arms or your feelings. Pisses me off, man. But anyway, what were we talking about, dude? Sorry. In high school, I had a high school love. I had a love from high school. And then I went away to college at University of Arizona out there in the desert. Where your skin gets chapped and you wake up with a nosebleed for no reason. Just because there's no... because the air is so hot, it's trying to kill you. And it's dry, and basically the atmosphere is trying to kill you. So if you live in Arizona, you know what I'm talking about. You go outside, if you stay out there, you'll die. That's dangerous. It was a beautiful birthday party, man. The kids, they did everything. They were, laughing and fighting, crying, beating. People was doing urine outside, inside. I mean, everything. It was nice, man. I mean, it was beautiful. It was just nice. Nice to see children having a good time. I remember on my birthday when I was young, I had a couple of bad birthdays, actually. I mean, I had some nice ones. My mother, made an extra effort always to make sure we had something and got a nice cake. Because my mother really enjoyed some cake, and she would get a little bit of canned beer. And when it was your birthday, you got to sit at the head of the table. So it was, it was a time where you got to feel like different. Even in where your place was at the table, it was a special moment for you. And my mother would drink that canned beer, and we'd have some nice cake. I got attacked by dogs on my birthday. Some of you guys know that. When I was maybe 7 or 8, I got attacked by a group of dogs. One of them came at me off the roof. Honestly, I'm not even joking, or off of a balcony, next door balcony, right when I came out the door. A year or two later, 2 of those same dogs came back and jumped me again on my birthday. And so I've had issues with dogs, some animals like that. We had a lot of wild outdoor animals. Angry raccoons, attack coons, attack possums. What else do we have? We had just violent animals, lizards, just fucking little, just gangs of lizards and snails even that looked like they was wanting to fuck somebody up. So we had a lot of wild animals in our neighborhood. Anyhow, I've had some rough birthdays over the years. I started drinking there, when I was probably about 15, I remember, and I had some issues there. With a brother one time, actually, I wanted to get some vodka, and they had this man out milling around outside of the gas station, loitering, they call it, I guess in another language, but we call it usually in America, milling around. And this gentleman was milling around, and I gave him some money to get us some
some vodka. And I picked him up, and he goes inside. He gets the vodka and stuff because I was underage. He comes back out, gets in the car. I figure I'm going to drive him around the corner. And I gave him money as well so he could get himself some. Well, this man told me he was the headbutting champion of the world, dude. And this guy was a vagrant. And I'll say this, man. When you're driving a car and there's a huge black man in the passenger seat, and he tells you, and you don't know him, and he appears homeless and gives off every indication that he's homeless. Like, no indications was he giving off that he, received mail anywhere regularly. And he says he's the headbutting champion of the world, dude. It's alarming, man. And I remember I pulled my car over because if I'm getting headbutted, bro, I'm not doing it while I'm driving, So I pulled the car over, and he goes, yeah, I'll show you. And I didn't want to see. But I didn't know how to appease him and really make it out of this situation okay. So we're pulled over, and he takes my head, turns it to him, rears back, and this guy had a big head, looked like imagine a big head that's dark looking. And this guy rears his head back and just bam, slams it right into my head.
It was a poor choice to let children drive a car at high speeds, man, top speeds. I remember another time the tire blew out driving my father. I was doing about 75. We're on the interstate, and the tire blew out, and he had been asleep because my dad liked to rest and get his rest in, when he felt it was appropriate, which was very often. Very, very often. My dad liked to pick his feet, and he liked to dig in his ear with a car key, and he liked to hug me. He was a loving man, but he liked to fall asleep and rest, because he'd been alive for 82 years, 83 years at that point. You got to get your rest in. Rest is mostly what you're doing. I mean, because eventually you're going to rest eternally, so it makes sense that you are practicing heavily. So he would rest a lot, and that tire blew out, dude, and I never seen a man wake up like that, man. He woke up fast, bruh, hurt his neck.
Give you a sensual update, man. I'm staying off the masturbation now. I think I have 3 days. So obviously that's not much of an update. But I'm feeling full. I'm feeling fuller below my, below my tool, below my pecker, really. I'm feeling fuller. And that's a nice feeling, to be walking around with your nuts just feeling qualified. Feeling like when I look a woman in the eyes that, I could spray out if I need to. I could feed the family if I need to. If we hit that Great Depression and everybody got to sip up, that daddy's going to bring a meal to the table, and that's a nice feeling to walk around with your nuts full, not spent out like I'd been doing because I'd been doing masturbation. Sorry.
Find areas, maybe you could be looking in the wrong circles. Like, dude, I went to nightclubs for years, bruh. And it was a bunch of Persian people in there, usually adult men, or very tan, like men that had been in the gymnasium and looked like their muscles were just trying to climb out of their shirt and leave them because their muscles didn't even like them. Like their muscles just wanted to get divorced from their skeletons and just be done with them, and veins blowing up out of their chest and neck, and then a lot of Persian men wearing cologne, heavy cologne. And I would be there, and I would feel like something was wrong with me, But really, everybody in the club, or 90% of the people, were miserable. They were just trying to look like they were having a good time. And one of my problems was I was going to clubs. I was looking repeatedly in the same place for social acceptance, and a place that really I never did like. I never did like clubs, man. I like more of like being around a fire. I even scrapbook, bruh. I fucking scrapbook, dude. I'm not saying I'm enjoying some scrapbookers club with a lot of ladies and stuff, but...
And I never really did like being tickled, dude. In fact, I told a girl that I was hanging out with recently, she goes, "Are you ticklish?" And I said, "If you tickle me, I will punch you in the fucking face because I've never enjoyed it. I don't like being forced into painful laughter immediately. I don't like it, I like to have a little bit of an inkling that I want to laugh and then be laughing and not feeling that pain in my body of somebody trying to jolt me or just kind of trying to get into your spirit, you know? And you just, I don't like it. I don't know. It just seems like something, I don't know. Some people I would like to tickle. I'd love to tickle the Chinese.